what's up you guys? So today I'm going to be discussing Empire of Storms by SARAH J MAAS. This is the 5th book in the Throne of Glass series. I have book talks up for Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, and Queen of Shadows. So if you want to know my thoughts on any of those, you can check those out. Throne of Glass is a series about an assassin who participates in a competition to become the king's champion. So it's a really high fantasy series, but it is definitely a fun series to read. I definitely recommend it. I so far have been loving all of the books. This book is definitely my favorite of the series up to this point. The characters are very, very strong. I loved how this book really started to set the stage for our final battles that are going to happen in the next book. It makes me feel like it's going to end so epically, and I just love the characters so much. And I love how this book further develops all of the characters, even some of the side ones. I just love how this story, it just encompasses so many different people, so many different lives, and I love how so many different plot threads are coming together. Especially, I highly recommend reading The Assassin's Blade because it really makes some of these moments just so much more rewarding. This book is just so much more expansive than the rest of the books, I feel like, because we get to really travel with these characters. You know, they aren't just in the capital city anymore. They are moving about and they are going and setting their stages. They are setting up their armies where they need to be. And so definitely recommend this book. I have just been enjoying all of it. That is my thoughts on this book. I'm gonna launch into my spoilery section now. So if you don't want to be spoiled for Empire of Storms or the rest of the Throne of Glass series up to this point, I'd leave now. So here we go. So this book starts off with Aelin going to Terracent to try to reclaim her throne. And you know what? None of the lords really give a shit. They're like, you know what? No, you don't get to just come back. You were gone for so long. Why do you get to just come back and rule? We don't want to let that happen. Bring us armies and then we'll talk. So she's not really a ruler right now. She's got to get some friends real quick. So that is what she is doing. And with her is Aedion, Lysandra, and Rowan. And so they start traveling to try and get some armies. So her plan is to call in some old debts. So she is trying to go to the Dead Islands to meet with a pirate who owes her for something in the Assassin's Blade. I don't remember what it is right now. She's going there to try to get some help from him. And in the process, she's kind of left these clues of places to go by the fairies. And so they tell her to stop on the way and go to this one temple. And so she does. At this temple, she runs into one of the old rulers of the kingdoms in like a ghost form. And he starts to kind of guide her and tell her some things, but he doesn't quite get to finish because they get interrupted by Erwin. And so he also has a message to leave for her, which is that he is gonna kill her. So that happens, but she is able to get out of that and she's able to make it to the Dead Islands to get the pirate king to give her the armies. So while this is happening, Riftfold gets sacked by the witches in Morath, and so it's now taken over by them. Luckily, Rowan was able to come in and save Dorian before he died, but Riftfold definitely held by the Valk now. So Dorian is now on the run. He's trying to, you know, not die like the rest of our characters. It's a really tough ask not to die. So Dorian and Rowan are also on their way to the Dead Islands because he knows that's where Aelin is going. They kind of pre-planned it, and so they all meet up there. Now, Manon during this is starting to kind of have her break with the Iron Teeth clan because she didn't kill Dorian like she was supposed to and actually wound up killing some witches in the process. So her development definitely furthers because she goes against what her side is supposed to be. So her and her 13 are able to escape, but she escapes with some huge injuries and she is really struggling, and she is not with her 13. They had to separate, so she is just trying to escape. Back at the Dead Islands, in order to get Roth to sign off on giving his fleet to Selena, she does a bit of a ballsy move, which is kind of send out a, hey, I'm here to Erwin, so that he sends over his forces so that she can show how badass she is. Well, she does this and they are struggling. She needs to kind of harness a lot of this power of hers in order to beat these guys. And in the process, she winds up using the one word key that she's gotten so far, and it winds up being getting very, very dangerous. And so she is lucky that they all survived that, but luckily her plan worked out, even though it was definitely a close call. And Lysandra, she turned into a sea dragon, which was badass, but she almost died. So yay, she didn't die, because Lysandra is like becoming one of my faves. And so they survive and it's all fine. So now she's getting those forces together. So she's got a little bit of an army going, and she and Rowan do the do, and it's great. And then all of our people are together now. Dorian, Aedion, Rowan, Aelin, Lysandra, they're all together. They decide to summon Elena to try and figure out what's going on. And so Elena tells them to go and find the word lock for the keys. And so they go to where she said to go to get that lock. Now, while this is going on, we also have a lead who's on the run with one of the word keys. Now, she's on the run, and luckily enough, she runs into Lorcan. Lorcan is just curious about her. He's not sure why she seems so different. Like, she has that off smell to her that everything that is bad has, and so he's just trying to figure out what that's about. But he and her start to develop a bit of a relationship, and their story was like my favorite thing in this book, because she is really adept at lying and adept at talking her way into situations, and I loved her character. She is my favorite right now. She is able to get her way into this little carnival, so they're able to travel with the carnival, and it's harder for them to be tracked and found, and she pretends to be Lorcan's wife, and so they're just faking it for a while, and it's really just every moment with them is so great. So they're traveling. Elide is trying to get to Aelin. Lorcan is trying to get to Morath. So eventually they've got this time when they know they're gonna have to separate. They're just kind of going until they feel like they're gonna have to separate. But luckily enough, they discover they actually don't have to separate, because Aelin's not in Terrasen. She's in the area with the lock, which is in the direction of Morath. So they're kind of like, hey, we can kind of stick together a little bit longer. Whoop-de-doo. So they keep sticking together, and they run into some issues here and there. You know, they have to leave the carnival, and then they're on a boat just going. Elide gets really mad because Lorcan kills the guy who owned the boat. But I mean, what else was he gonna do? Not kill him? I mean, he could have not killed him. Like, that would have been a much better move. Like, Lorcan, like, come on. But then again, Lorcan hasn't been established as a great guy, so it's not out of character for him. We've now got everyone kind of heading for the same area, because Lorcan doesn't wind up ever really wanting to leave Elide. He winds up promising that he actually won't leave her, because at one point they do wind up getting caught, or at least Elide winds up getting caught by Vernon again. And so he promises that he's not going to leave her, because she doesn't know that he's not going to leave, and she's not going to go back to Morath. Like, what happened to her? She's not going to let that happen again. So you know what that means she's going to do if it looks like she's going to go back to Morath. She's not a fighter like the rest of our characters. She can't just like punch someone and get out of a situation. She has to use other skills, which is why she's so adept at those other skills. And her character is just so different from the rest of the characters in the series, because she has had to rely on herself so much more. So she is now on her way to find Aelin with Lorcan. They all kind of meet up, and it's great. And we're able to defeat some more bad guys, which is fun. And let me go back to Elide and Lorcan. Like, literally all of their scenes are my favorite. Like, every time that he tells her a little bit about him, or she about herself, I love it. Like, I love their developing relationship, because they are so different. They come from such different worlds and such different backgrounds. And the fact they're able to try to understand each other and communicate like that, I just think that's so strong. So also, while this has happened, Manon, who was injured, she flew to Aelin and Dorian's ship, and so she is now there with them. The reason why she flew there was not really of her own thoughts. It was Abraxas. Abraxas is a genius, okay? Abraxas saved her life. Abraxas is a badass. Abraxas is one of my favorite characters as well, even though he has no lines and he's so dragon. Manon and Dorian start to strike up a thing. I've got to say, their thing felt like it came really out of the blue. I'm not against it, but like, it did come out of the blue. Like, you can't deny that it just kind of came out of nowhere. They're getting together. Lysandra and Aedion are getting together. Aelin and Rowan are together. Lorcan and Elide are getting together. So everyone's kind of paired off, which I don't always like when it happens, but I'm okay with it. It's just one of those things where it's like, do we have to always pair people off? Anyways, that's going on. Manon is not really trusted at first for obvious reasons, but she's able to kind of earn trust. So now all of our characters meet up in this little bog, swampy area to get the lock, but turns out there is no lock. It's just a mirror. It's just a witch mirror. They don't really understand what that's about. It's fine, because they don't have time to really try and understand what it's about, because they get attacked by Erwin's forces. Luckily, Lorcan was able to alert them to this danger, and Lorcan was able to save him in a lead, and so everyone was fine. But this did leave them very drained. And so by the time that they got back to their ships, they were just very drained, and they had a mirror they didn't know what to do with. So they got back on their ship, then Maeve's armada comes in, and she timed this so perfectly, Maeve did. Like, she knew when they would be at their weakest, and so she used that to her advantage. She is going to launch an attack on Aelin and her forces. And so Aelin is given the option to surrender or die, essentially. And so she chooses to go in the mirror with Manon. So they go into the mirror and discover essentially so much of the history of what happened with Erwin way back when. They discover how he has to be destroyed this time, and it's going to require the sacrifice of either Aelin or Manon. So it's not a great situation for our heroes right now. So they go and do that, and then they're able to come back as we've won the battle for the most part with Maeve's forces. But it was a lot of work to win. Rowan did have to fly to all of his bannermen in Maeve's forces and be like, hey, you know me, please throw me a bone. So luckily for them, they're able to win, but that was really all a distraction for Maeve to get Aelin alone. And so Aelin is on the land with Manon and a lead, and they are there just trying to not die. Again, not dying in this universe is really hard. A lead is kind of used as a pawn to get Aelin to surrender, and she does, because I mean, she doesn't have another option. And so Aelin is now captured by Maeve. Elide is really at odds with Lorcan, because Lorcan is the one who summoned Maeve, and Lorcan didn't do anything to help Aelin because he didn't want to put Elide at any more risk. Manon couldn't do anything either because Aelin had slipped her the word keys, and so she didn't want to alert Maeve to the fact that she had the word keys. Aelin was just kind of screwed from the get-go with that, so she got captured. All of our people are kind of like, what do we do now? Well, Lysandra and Aelin had kind of a plan for this. I mean, it was a different plan. I don't think it was stemmed around the fact that Maeve was going to capture her. I think it was stemmed around the fact that Aelin was going to have to die at some point. But what happened is Lysandra has taken on Aelin's name, her face, with her shapeshifting. And so now Lysandra's playing Aelin. Aedion is mad because they didn't tell him about this. So now him and Lysandra are at odds. Lorcan and Elide are at odds because Lorcan didn't do anything to help Aelin. Dorian and Manon are fine. Rowan and Aelin are definitely separated right now. Next book, we're supposed to be picking up with Rowan trying to rescue Aelin, which I'm really nervous about. Dorian and Manon going to figure out what's going on in the mountains up north and to get the last word key. Lysandra is going to be amassing the armies for Aelin, and Elide and Lorcan are going to be going with Rowan to rescue Aelin. So all in all, I'm really curious what's going to happen in the next book. I mean, I know Aelin's going to have to be rescued, but is Dorian going to die? Like, that's what I think is going to happen. I think Dorian might die. I think Manon might die. I hope they don't. I like them. Dorian's my favorite. I think everyone's going to wind up who's in a happy couple or who was in a happy couple. They're going to wind up good. So I know the next book is actually Tower of Dawn, which is about Cole and what he's doing during this time because he lost the functioning of his legs. So he's actually going to another continent to see if he could rally some more forces and heal himself in the process. So we're going to get to see what's going on with him. I'm not super pumped, but we'll see because he's not my favorite character. So we'll see if I wind up liking it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, comment, do all the things. I post videos occasionally on this channel, so if you like this one, stick around maybe. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!